Hey guys, DLE Kamel here, and I'm here back at the DLE YouTube channel, and I'm here today to talk about all of the currently useful and viable skills in Duel Links. Now, this was, fun fact, a community suggestion from the Discord. If you go in the daily feedback channel in the Discord, we read through these every day, and that's one of your best shots at getting a request that you have being made into a video. So, let me get into a little bit what I'm talking about here. You can see in the graphic here that I have separated some skills that I want to talk about based on the world that they're in, and we'll go into Duel Links and look at each of them individually in a moment. But just to talk about what I was thinking about going in on, firstly, I want to take into account the ban list, right? The skills they're balanced separately from the ban list, so I definitely wanted to take them into account. I did not want to include any skill that has not been used since it getting nerfed. I wanted to every skill that I included, if it has been nerfed, that it at least found some sort of play afterwards, or the nerf was not enough to totally kill the skill or remove it from the game. There's a couple exceptions, but we will get into those when we explain the individual cases. In addition to that, I also wanted to include skills that promote certain strategies that are viable sometimes, and promote certain kinds of play. Again, I'll get into them when we get to those skills specifically, and also PvE, right? Skills that are good for other aspects of the game, not just PvP. So that means farming and stuff too. So let's get into Duel Links, and we're going to start with dual monsters and work our way to the future. And so we are going to go to Duel Links, and the first skill on my list here is Balance. Now, Balance is a very well-known skill. It's on many characters, and this has the effect, as you can see, your starting hand will reflect the card balance of your deck. This skill will not activate unless you have at least 6 of each type of card, monster, spell, trap in your deck, right? So this is what we call a consistency skill, and Balance right now is probably the best consistency skill in the game. It is very much relevant. Like, I almost have to say all the time in Duel Links, there's always at least one deck that utilizes Balance, and when new decks come out that maybe they have a tight monster core and they rely a lot on staple back row or spells and traps that are a part of their archetype, or that they need to support them, Balance is the way to go, right? It is the way that you guarantee you seeing all the different parts of your strategy to make sure it can operate on turn 1. You get your monsters, you get your supporting spell or traps, or maybe you get some controlling spell or traps. You know what I'm talking about: the Floodgates, the Canadias, the Econs, the Cyclones, stuff like that. Balance never goes out of style, and there is always a deck that it performs well on. Right off the top of my head right now, I cannot think of a deck that uses Balance on the tier list. But decks like Goki were using Balance very effectively, and they still do. They are a rogue deck, but that's my example for Balance. It ensures them the Necro Valor that they need to lock down graveyard decks. So yeah, that is Balance. So let me move on to our next skill, which is Spell Specialist. Now, this is one of those skills I was talking about. It was nerfed, but it was not nerfed into the ground, right? It was kind of hit because this is, again, a consistency skill. If your deck contains 5 or more spell cards with different names, you will have improved chances of having a spell card in your starting hand. Alright, so something to talk about this skill. This skill is, or has been, the victim of something that Konami has recently started liking to doing in Duel Links, and that is called shadow buffing, right? Shadow buffing is essentially when the developers of the game go onto the back end and they change some numbers around to affect some probabilities in the game, right? And they do this the most often with skills like this that affect your chances of having a certain amount of a certain card in your hand. It doesn't affect balance per se because balance is set in stone, whereas you may just be getting different cards, but spell specialists it affects the amount of spells you can get in your hands. So it's not you're not getting a concrete number. You have a chance to get more spells with a certain amount of percentage, if that makes sense. So when they shadow buff these things, they just increase the probability of you getting more spells, but then what they can do is bring them down after they shadow buff them, which was the most recent nerf with spell specialists. So the reason this is on the list is because it is a consistency skill, and this shadow buffing or shadow debuffing or public debuffing can really be undone or redone at any time. It's always in the air, but yeah, consistency skills are always good to have. So next is a pretty general skill. You should have it, and that is Holy Guard. Holy Guard is a Taya skill, most easily obtained. You can get it from these other people, like from drops. You take no battle damage during your turn. Pretty simple. You can run low attack point monsters into your opponent and not take damage for it. The most meta-relevant strategy I've seen this with is with Amazonas, and this per se isn't a meta-relevant skill, but it is a useful skill that you should have. You know, you never know when there's a strategy that you may benefit from this, so not going to spend too much time on that. And we'll go right into our next skill, another one we don't have to spend much time on, the Tie That Binds. Until the end of your turn, the attack of all face-up monsters your opponent your monsters on your field increased by the number of monsters on your field times 100. Whew. Okay, so this skill is on many characters, as you can see, all the protagonists here. And yeah, the skill is pretty basic. It fits into many decks when they don't have a skill that really fits them or that they really need to succeed. Ties is always good when you have an archetype that is good at chain summoning. And you know, I want to go over these skills because some people, they straight up don't know that skills like these exist. I know that for a long time I didn't know that skill like Ties existed, so really don't want to skip these. The Ties That Bind, make sure you have it, at least one character with it. Alright, so next we have another skill similar to Spell Specialist, and that is My Monster Cards. This is another consistency skill. If your deck has 6 or more level 4 or lower monsters with different names, you will have better chances of having a level 4 or lower monster in your starting hand. And again, this is another skill that was the receiver of a shadow buff and then received a public nerf after its rates were increased. So again, another consistency skill that you should pick up. Most people have this on Yu-Gi-Oh! That's how I had them, but yeah. My Monster Cards, pretty nice if there's ever a deck that would be able to use it. And that's really what we're going for with these skills, right? Just good things to have and something else to think about, right? Your skill ticket. And I'll get into that at the end of the video, and I'll cover exactly why I didn't make this a skill ticket video explicitly. So we will get into that. But next we have Destiny Draw. Destiny Draw, probably one of the best skills in Duel Links right now. Can be used when your life points decrease by 2,000. During your draw phase, instead of conducting your normal draw a card of your choice. This skill can only be used once per duel, and this is a must-have skill on Yami Yugi. It is a crime that this is not a level-up reward, but no, this is a drop skill from Yami Yugi, and you absolutely need to have this skill, right? Destiny Draw was integral in decks that like Element Sabers, a deck that does what it does normally, but when it just needs that one card to pop off, having access to it if you're unable to kill the deck in one turn, Destiny Draw. If your opponent deals damage to you, life-threatening damage, and you can just use a single card to stop yourself from dying, you have Destiny Draw next turn to get exactly what you need to win the duel. You need to have Destiny Draw unlocked, so you need to get in there, skill farm Yugi on the ladder, because you need to have Destiny Draw. It is used in decks when they come out. Decks default to it when their best skill gets nerfed, and it is just a super powerful effect. Destiny Draw is probably one of the best skills in Duel Links once again. So yeah, there you go. Next we have Sealed Tombs. I'm going to skip a couple actually that I have on the list, but they'll still be there and I'll talk about them there. Sealed Tombs, infamous skill, can be used if your life points are lower than your opponent's by 1,000 or more until the end of your opponent's next turn. Neither player can banish cards from the graveyard or special summon monsters from the graveyard. The skill can only be used once per duel. Now, Sealed Tombs used to be immensely more powerful than it is right now because the life point cost was calculated differently. There was no life point cost, so now Sealed Tombs does have life points cost, so it is considerably less powerful, although the effect that it brings to the table is still very good. The reason you're not seeing it right now is just because, being forced to be 1,000 lower than your opponent, often it's too late for graveyard disruption at that point. If you think about a deck that would be very disrupted from an effect like this, like Shiranui, by the time they've already summoned monsters and dealt you damage, their board could be developed now, especially since Shiranui is capable of creating like Sun Saga on turn 1. Sealed Tombs is too slow now, but still its effect could be good in the future in an extreme enough event. If something's just too powerful in the graveyard, people need to run Sealed Tombs again. So it is an Ishizu drop skill, so it's always good to have. So consider that for your dream ticket. Not your dream ticket, your skill ticket. So next, I will go over to Endless Trap Hell. Now, this is a level up Odeon skill, so you don't have to worry about farming it. Can be used when you have 3 or more trap cards in the graveyard. Randomly add 1 trap card from your graveyard to your hand. Then return all of the trap cards in your graveyard to your deck. Once per duel. And yeah, this is a very oppressive skill that catches a lot of flack in back row decks. But this skill is extremely good, right? Simply because of the fact that you get traps that you used back. And in a back row deck with a tight monster engine, if you see a lot of traps at the beginning of the duel that you used to kind of like slow the game down to get yourself into the late game, this is so good because not only do you get the traps back into your deck, all of them, at least 3, but you get all your traps back. You get 1 to your hand as well, so getting super lucky when you have a graveyard stacked with traps and you pull a Fiendish Chain or a Karma Cut or a Floodgate back to your hand. That is a massive, massive lead that you have in your hands now. Endless Trap Hell has been very good ever since its inception. There's always going to be decks that utilize back row very well, and so Endless Trap Hell is always going to have decks to make better. Yeah, essentially that's it. So Endless Trap Hell. Then we have Heavy Starter. Heavy Starter, another consistency skill that received a shadow buff and then a shadow nerf. If you have 3 or more level 5 or higher monsters with different names to your deck, you will have an improved chance of having a level 5 or higher monster in your starting hand. This not much a meta relevant skill, but this does have various PvE uses. The most recent I can think of is the Cubic Raid Boss event, the Dimension Duel. Specifically, I use Heavy Starter so that I can see those high-level monsters to Dimension Summon since I do not have to normal summon. But yeah, any deck, as far as PvP or like regular viable decks go, any deck that benefits from you starting out with a high-level monster will do you very good. So the last meta-relevant deck that utilized this was Black Wings, when they were using Heavy Starter, Black Wings 2C, Simoon in their opening hand, and that deck was very consistent. This was, of course, before the Heavy Starter consistency nerf, which made this not as used anymore. So that is going to be Heavy Starter, and that is also going to be all of our dual monsters and neutral skills. So now we're going to be going into GX, and with GX we have Master of Fusion. Master of Fusion, not too much to talk about here. Lose 1,000, return a card from your hand to the deck to get poly. This is great in decks that utilize fusion spells that have a once per turn limitation, right? You use up your once per turn fusion spell, and then if they do not have a limitation that requires them to only use that fusion spell, you can then skill Hachdo, Master of Fusion, and get a poly to your hand to fuse again if you so wish. People who play Lunalights will be very, very familiar with Master of Fusion. This is probably one of the best skills for the deck, or it has been one of the best skills for the deck. But yeah, any fusion deck that comes out, or kind of, how should I say this, allows you to use Cosmic Cyclone, right? Because that is how you're using this most effectively. You'll be using Master of Fusion. There you go. Okay, next is not a PvP skill, but it is a kind of a PvE skill. Reinforcements can be used each time your life points decrease by 1,500. Return one card from your hand to the deck and draw a random warrior type monster. Yeah, it is what it is. Mostly used in farm decks like the Legendary Fisherman farm, and that's where I think you're going to use it most. Farm and stuff. Next is what I think is one of the best GX skills, and that is Bring It on Astrophoenix. Can be used each time your life points decrease by 1,000. Return one card from your hand to the deck, then add one level 8 Dark Warrior type monster from your deck to your hand. And yeah, this is used primarily to add Destiny Hero Plasma from your deck to your hand. And Destiny Hero Plasma is so good because it is a level 8 Dark Warrior type monster that negates all monster effects on the field, and it lets you steal one of your opponent's monsters and equip it to himself. It is very powerful, and it is generically summoned. Only requires 3 tributes, so any deck that can spam 3 monsters onto the field and lack an out to very tricky cards like Cyrus, they can make use of Destiny Hero Plasma and, by extension, Bring It. So there you go. Bring It is very good. It's very slept on indeed. It is a farm skill on Astrophoenix. Bring It is super, super good at taking away those pesky threats like Invoked Cocytus, most infamously used on him. Alright. So after Bring It, we have Master of Rites. Master of Rites is probably the best ritual skill in the game after receiving a buff. Maybe about a year ago now. It can be used each time your life points decrease by 1,000. Return one card from your hand to your deck and choose one of the following. Add a ritual monster or spell from your deck to your hand. And yeah, this is very versatile, allowing for your ritual deck to see either of the components for rituals. That's often the problem, you having to have Senjus and Sonic Birds to supplement this weakness. But you being able to choose, and the life point cost only being 1,000, makes it pretty good. Of course, even with this being pretty good, I don't think there's been any ritual archetypes that have utilized it yet. But also always, that future relevance. So that's Master of Rites, best ritual skill. Okay, next is a PvE staple skill, and that is My Name is Ubell. Can be used by returning one Ubell Terror Incarnate or Ubell the Ultimate Nightmare from your hand to your deck to add one Ubell from your hand to your deck. And this is used in the Ubell farm deck, which is the best farm deck in Duel Links. If you do not know what the Ubell farm deck is, the Ubell farm deck essentially revolves around you destroying Ubell in your hand with the effect of Nephthys cards, like Nephthys and Fire King cards, to allow you to destroy the Ubell in hand and then summon the Terror Incarnate from your deck. So essentially, if you draw one of the other forms of Ubell, you shuffle it back into the deck and you draw the Ubell. the regular one that you need to destroy to summon the other ones on the field, and then you do your farm strategy, right? This is a staple skill in Duel Links. You need Ubell, you need the Ubell cards, you need the skill, because that Ubell farm deck will work for 90% of the events that come to the game, and it's just going to make farming for resources and things like that a lot easier for you. You're not going to have to go out of your way. Events will basically be so much easier once you complete this deck. So yeah, let me know if you want a video on Ubell farm. Okay, the next two I'll do pretty quickly. They are Cyrus Skills. Check out my ride. Can you see time your life points increased by 1,000 during your draw phase instead of conducting your normal draw? Draw a Roid monster of your choice. So you get to choose a Roid monster now. I know if you guys saw Herf's video on Roid Invoked, but Roid Invoked are pretty good right now, so you might want to take a closer look at that. And you might also want to take a look at this next one. Fusion Reservoirs can be used when your life points decrease by 1,500. Add one fusion material from your deck to your hand, whose name is specifically listed on a Roid fusion monster card in your extra deck. So yeah, it invoked Roids. All you gotta do is throw like Ambulance Rescue Roid in there, and then you get the fire monster to your hand, and boom, Purgatrio. Of course, you would have to run a non-invoked card in your extra deck, so use it at your discretion. It's just a cool skill though. It's seen past relevance. Another skill that's seen past relevance is Master of Destiny. When you toss a coin, the result will always be heads for the first 3 coin tosses. This is of course, the skill that made Desperado Barrel Dragon a meta deck. 3 guaranteed coin tosses. However, it has received a nerf in recent times. You do have to have 7 different coin toss effects. So, that is up from 6. So, while it isn't too much of a nerf, it's still pretty steep. Master of Destiny, for that strategy, it's the best in slot skill. It could be see some future use if the archetype gets some more support. And that's all for Master of Destiny that I had. And now we're going to move on into 5Ds. And these are going to be pretty quickly because there's not too many going forward, and they're all pretty self-explanatory. Level Augmentation. Reveal one monster in your hand, then select one monster on your side of the field. This selected monster level increased by the monster revealed. So I'm going to go over all the level skills as a whole, right? Level Augmentation, Level Reduction, and Level Duplication, right? These 3 skills, actually I can put them all up at once. These 3 skills have all at one time or another, except level... okay, so they've all seen play at some point or another in Duel Links. The issue is these skills are only as relevant as the best, what I would say, synchro decks at the time they utilize them. And right now, I believe the best one that utilizes one of these 3 skills is Level Reduction on Crow. Level. There you go. Level Reduction. He's on the other signers as well. Level Reduction is used in Blackwings right now, and it lets them pull off some crazy special summoning synchro combos, allowing for new paths down the synchro tree. These other ones, like Level Duplication, is pretty good in Shiranui, letting you get turn 1 access to the Shogun Saga, so that one is pretty meta relevant right now. Level Augmentation was most commonly used to support Karakuris, but thanks to their new support, they don't really have to use it anymore. But yeah, those are those 3 skills. Duplication makes you reveal to like copy the level. Reduction, reduces it by the card you reveal, and Augmentation adds it like it says. So yeah, those are the level skills. I'm gonna leave that at that. Next is just an interesting skill, maybe some future potential. Tuner Morph Normal. Reveal one tuner monster in your hand. Select a normal monster on the side of the field. The selected monster is treated as a tuner monster. We used to see some cheese with this in a card like Galaxy Serpent, but it hasn't seen too much play since, so that is Tuner Morph normal. Not too much going on there. And next we have a skill that carried the Synchro era for a very long time. What grows in the graveyard? Begin the duel with one Dark Verger in your graveyard. And Dark Verger is a very versatile card. It is a level 2 plant in the grave, and it is special summoned in attack position when you normal summon a plant tuner. However, this card was most commonly used when Junk Synchron was first added to the game to allow you to summon Armades. That was kind of the first Synchro deck, and yeah, this card really carried it because there were no very good Synchro engines that allowed for you to even make a level 5 monster very easily. So this skill allowed for that, and that's pretty much still what it does. Although there are more ways to use it now, you don't have to use it with Junk Synchron. You can probably actually play with plants for some combos there. So what grows the graveyard? It is a Kiza farm skill, so you gotta go get it. And the next one is one of the more recent skills, Infernity Inferno. Can be used on your second turn. Discard up to 2 cards from your hand. Then send an equal number of Infernity monsters from your deck to your hand. So this is the skill for Infernities. We were all hype getting this skill when Infernities splashed on the meta a couple months ago, but it didn't really go anywhere. But if Infernities ever finds some future support that makes them good, Infernity Inferno is going to be the skill to use. It's really, really good. Alright, and now that's it for 5Ds. You can see there's not too many generally useful skills in these more recently released worlds. So we're going to go right into DSOD, and the first skill is one that everyone has, and that is Alternative Evolution. This is the skill for Blue Eyes at the moment. They need this to survive because of the monster. Alternative White Dragon is just too good not to have. Blue Eyes need it as a part of their strategy. It's a pop. Blue Eyes need basically just basic destruction like this, and it transforms a Blue Eyes White Dragon into this monster. So you lose that Blue Eyes White Dragon forever because it turns into this monster. It doesn't go to the graveyard. So yeah, Alternative Evolution, good skill. Next, I've got See You Later. This is probably the only other skill from DSOD I have to say that achieved any meta relevance whatsoever. Select one monster you control and who you are the original owner of. Return the selected monster to the hand. Now this skill has seen success in quite a few places since its release. In Blackwings, in Heroes, in Ritual Beasts, in other places. This is a very good skill. Basically not wanting to leave a monster on the field that's integral to your combo that you can use again next turn, right? So you bring your starter out and you finish your combo on the board and everything's done, but your starter doesn't need to be there because it might just die, right? Like with Heroes, you bring that Stratos, you see you later back to the hand so you can use it again. With Blackwings, you get your combo out, you see you later. Oh no, so with Blackwings you would get floodgated and so they would interrupt you, and then you can see later your monster back to your hand. Just removing threats that have been dealt with by Floodgate or Canadia. Probably not Canadia, Floodgate usually. Or just removing like openings on your board, weak monsters and stuff. So see you later, pretty darn good. And that's going to be it for DSOD, man. Not too much there. I'm sure if we look back here really quick, just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, I am not. So if now we go over to Zexal, we can hit up the last 2 skills. I don't even have to do that. I'll just know their names. The first one is Ready for Victory. Can be used to turn you control 2 monsters with the same level. During this turn, the attack of Xyz monsters you control increased by 500. The skill can only be used once per duel. So yeah, this skill is not great, but if you're going to be using Xyz monsters, this makes it gives them 500 if you use it right before you Xyz summon. Zexal truly does not have any good skills on release. This is the best one that I could find. Some of the other good ones I mean, I shouldn't say they're good because we don't even know their effects. So some of the good names of skills that we saw in the leaks, they are definitely all coming further down the road as part of character unlocks or events. So Zexal really does not have anything here for us. The only other thing, and I thought about making this a honorable mention, but I wanted to include it, is Recycling Reserve. Can be used if you have at least 2 more machine type monsters than other cards in your graveyard. All cards in your graveyard other than machine type monsters vanish. This skill can only be used once per duel. Vanish. I like that new card, new like problem solving text in Duel Links. But yeah, this is your super heavy samurai cheese card that allows you to play whatever spell and traps you want, and then they all go away, so you can keep using your super heavy samurai effects. So that's it for that, and essentially that's it for all of these relevant skills in Duel Links right now, I should say. And just before I get attacked, right, I don't want to say these are all of the relevant skills, right? Some of the skills that I did not include are ones that you simply straight up just get, that you do not have to go unlock. Some I did include some easily obtainable ones, but I really wanted to try to keep it to skills that you would have to seek. Maybe you don't have initially. Maybe you don't have the character that has them, and you have to go get them. But many skills, like straight up Mythic Depths on Mako, you get that at level 4, man. I'm not going to talk about that. So, yeah. Those are all of the, what I think are the general useful skills in Duel Links. Please let me know in the comments if I missed any, or if there are any that you think you would put on the list. And let me know if there are any other topics like this that you would like us to discuss. We can do things like this pretty easy, since we know a lot of the answers to this stuff. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later.